Thank you very much for your time today, Daisy. Can I first of all get your reaction to the news in the past hour or so that the government will be recognising the state of Palestine?
I think this is a really historic day, but it is only one step on the path to making sure that both Israelis and Palestinians can live side by side in peace. It is so important that the government builds on this and goes a step further. We have repeatedly called as a party for the Prime Minister to call on Donald Trump to pick up the phone to Netanyahu and ask him to let all the humanitarian aid into Gaza. We've asked the Prime Minister to put pressure on Donald Trump to call the Qataris to put pressure on Hamas. We have got to get people around the table. We have got to get a ceasefire. We have got to get to a two-state solution so everyone can live in peace.
How do you square the rhetoric recently around Donald Trump from yourselves and the Liberal Democrats? And do you think that buys or loses us influence with him?
Look, I think quite frankly what matters is actions right now. We've been really clear that the recognition of Palestine is really important. We've campaigned for that for more than a decade. We're also incredibly clear that Hamas has absolutely no role whatsoever in the future of Palestine. I think Donald Trump can be quite unpredictable. He can use quite flamboyant language. What really matters is actions, and he does have the ability, probably one of the only people in the world who has the ability to pick up the phone and to put pressure on both parties to get to a peace.
And so at conference there's been a lot of talk about reform at Tim Farron's speech yesterday, talk of reclaiming the flag. What's the kind of one sentence pitch to someone who's currently intending to vote for reform to get them to vote for the Liberal Democrats?
We Liberal Democrats are patriots, which means that we love our country, but to love your country, you don't have to hate your neighbour. We've got a strong, proud tradition in this country of open, liberal, tolerant values. We are pro-business, we're internationalists, we're environmentalists, and we are strong, hard-working local champions in our communities.
And do you think there are some seats that Reform are looking to target that you'll be able to beat them in?
Look, there is no limit on our ambition at all for the next general election. We've been winning more seats in every local election for the last 7 years. We had our best general election result ever at the last general election. There's no limits on our ambition.
So your ambition for the general election, there's a fairly decent chance we have a hung parliament. What would induce you to enter a coalition with another party? Would it be proportional representation?
I never think about what happens the day after a general election. It's really important that between now and the general election that we Liberal Democrats can win the hearts and minds of people across this country who feel incredibly politically homeless. We know that the Conservative Party is a busted flush. People are so angry at the Conservatives still. We know that Labour has made mistake after mistake since they came to power. We Liberal Democrats know that people feel politically homeless. Our job is to persuade them to back us, and we'll be doing that every day between now and the next general election.
But has that been something you've thought about? Is it something you're preparing for?
We will never ever think about what happens the day after a general election. What really matters is that we win the hearts and minds of people across Britain right now.
And so if you did have a coalition or a confidence and supply arrangement with another party, how would you protect the party's reputation, as in the damage that the party suffered after the 2010 coalition? How would you prevent that happening again?
Look, we are our own party. We will set out very clearly in our manifesto at the next general election what our priorities are. We will be campaigning on those priorities. But the fact of the matter is, we're not thinking about anything that might have to happen after the next general election. If you think back 14 months, when Labour swept to power with an enormous majority, nobody would have guessed that 14 months on they would have been in such a mess. I think it's impossible to guess what might happen in a few years. What matters is that we focus on people's priorities right now and we win their hearts and minds.
Maybe to help understand your thinking on this, can I ask, who would you rather go for a pint with, Kemi, Keir or Nigel?
Blimey, I'd probably rather to go for a pint with my husband.
If you had to choose one of them?
I'd probably say Keir Starmer.
So, talking of Nigel Farage, YouGov, as of about an hour ago when I checked, rate him as 37% popularity. They rate Ed Davey as 25. Why do you think that might be?
Look, I think over a number of different polls, Ed has been proven to be one of the most popular party leaders across the UK at this moment in time. If you look at the ballot box, if you look at real elections, when people cast their actual votes, it's we Liberal Democrats who've had the best result ever in 100 years, and we keep winning in local elections, 7 consecutive local elections in a row.
And so it's been reported that there may be a reshuffle in the offing. Why is that?
I have no idea. It would be for the party leader to decide. We all serve at his pleasure.
Do you think you'd be switching portfolios in a reshuffle?
It's an honour to be offered a role as a spokesperson, whatever that role might be. It's entirely the gift of the leader.
If I can return to Tim Farron and the flags, where do you keep your flags at home? Do you
Oh.
have flags at home?
I've got quite a few flags at home actually. I've got my big GB flag, which I have for my brother because he competes for Great Britain as an Ironman. I've got my Ukrainian flag that I hold out when we are celebrating and welcoming Ukrainian guests to St Albans. I have my St Albans flag as well, which we use on Alban Day. I've got a number of different flags as well.
One final question. You announced the policy of a windfall tax on banks. Did you take any expert advice on that policy?
Yes, we've. If you look at the IPPR think tank, there's a number of independent economists as well, all of whom have recommended this as a really good way of raising revenue to get public services back on their feet in a way that respects the independence of the Bank of England and protects that independence of that monetary policy. So yes, there's a very respectable think tank, lots of independent economists who say that this is a good way of raising revenue whilst also protecting the independence of the Bank of England.
I know I said one final question, but one final question.
Final question.
We're on a fiscal knife edge. Is the windfall tax on banks your way of fixing that, or do you have other ways you're planning to fix that if you're in government?
So what we've announced today is a windfall tax on the windfall interest that the big banks have received. Independent analysis suggests it could raise about £7 billion a year every year for the course of this Parliament. We Liberal Democrats have also pointed to other taxes that could be raised. For example, raising taxes on the big gambling companies, raising the digital services tax, which is a tax on the big tech companies. People like Elon Musk could certainly afford to pay a little bit more in this country. So yeah, there are other examples that we've given and we hope the government looks at them closely.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.